fabulous panel here today. Adam Black, Shane Gunn, and Jan Klingman, our academic advisors across the hall from us here. I'm going to let them introduce themselves because that is part of their participation today. We're going to find about their career journey. We will have a question and answer at the very end. So if you have questions, hold on to them. You have an opportunity to ask all three of our panelists those nitty-gritty questions that you've always wanted to know. So without further, we'll turn time over to Adam Black.
Thank you. All right, good afternoon. I always want to say good morning, but it's 1 o'clock and the days just go by really fast. Does everybody have a handout? Did anybody come in that does not have one? Could you maybe pass? Just take the stack and just kind of pass them. If anybody doesn't have one, they can use them. Okay, so we have a pretty small window of time in which that I can share this information, so I'm going to move fairly quickly. But let me just tell you real quickly about myself and my experience here. So my name's Adam Black. I'm the director of the Academic Counseling Center just right across the hall. This is typically referred to as general advising, central advising. Our primary advisement population are students who are undecided in their major and students who are pre-professional, as meaning going into programs like nursing, medical, dental, law, health and professional programs in those areas. I have been here at UVU for 14 years. I just finished my 14th year here. My first job here at UVU was the advisor in the athletics department. Prior to my time in athletics, I worked in the mental health industry. I was a therapist at the Paiute Indian tribe down in Cedar City, Utah, and had 4 awesome years there. Wonderful cultural experience for me down there. Decided to move a little closer to home. I grew up in Lehigh. I'm a Lehigh native. Go Pioneers. And took the job here at UVU after a short time in athletics. Moved into the Academic Counseling Center where I could still use a little more of my counseling background. I have a master's degree in counseling psychology and a bachelor's degree in sociology with a minor in criminal justice. I was right on the edge of whether or not I was going to go law enforcement or counseling. And I decided I didn't want to work holidays and parades and weekends and have to deal with scary people, so I went into the counseling field, and here I am. And it's been awesome. Love this experience. Now, real quickly, one of the services that we provide for students that are undecided on their major are career assessments. They're tools that we use to take you from here, maybe to here, and sometimes even to there, where you can make a decision about your future. Just real fast by show of hands, how many in here absolutely know your major? You know where you're headed, no question. Good, that's a good percentage, I'm glad to see that. How many of you are going, I have no clue, I have no idea where I'm going, and I'm here to try to figure it out? Some of you are probably in the middle then.
We're there. I would say that.
Yeah. Yep, I've been there as well. So what I'm going to talk about really quickly is one of the tools that we use for helping you make a decision. Now, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator is an assessment that's been used for 60 years. It's heavily researched. There's been tons of testing, proving. It's a very valid and very accurate assessment. It's not a test. There's no right or wrong answers. You don't pass it or you don't fail it. It's an evaluation that helps you determine whether or not, or it helps you determine what your personality type is and how it might align with certain career fields. And also the additional value of Myers-Briggs is that it also helps you get along with people better. Okay, the most overused quote in the history of all psychology is Socrates, know thyself, right? That aligns with the premise of the Myers-Briggs. When I know who I am and what my personality is and what motivates me, I can understand where you come from better, and I can make myself better by using my strengths and trying to eliminate my challenges. Okay? So, the handout that I've given you, and hopefully everybody has one. I'm going to pass them around, so hopefully if you didn't have one, they'll end up in your hands there. On the one page, can I just go here for 1 second? On the front, that looks like this. Okay, this is not designed to be the full assessment and evaluation. I'm giving you a teaser. okay? I'm planting a seed so that if you're interested in following up when we're done and learning more about your own personality type, you can come and do so and take the assessments in our office, okay? But this is just a little self-evaluation that you can use to determine which type you think you actually are, which applies to you. And then you can follow up and do the assessment in our office later if you'd like to and see how accurate it lines up, okay? So I'm going to do a quick, thank you. I'm going to do a quick description of the types, and I want you to make a little mental note, or you can even write it down if you want, as to which one you think applies to you, okay? So let's look at the first one here. All right, how do you prefer to recharge your batteries? Okay, do you like to interact with people, debriefing, discussing, talking about the day's events and activities? Come home from work, let me tell you how my day went. Whew, and dump it on someone. Or dump on someone sounds kind of negative. That's essentially the process. Let me talk to you about how my day went. Or are you kind of the opposite? You like to come home, maybe take off your shoes, read a little bit, maybe watch some TV, get in the bath, somewhere where you can have some time by yourself, maybe think, not have to be not have to communicate with people, have a little bit of time to yourself. Okay? Maybe take a little mental note as to which one describes you. Okay? Let's go on to the next one. Now, how do you prefer to learn and take in information? This is actually one that is a really big factor in choosing a major. Okay? So some people prefer to listen, to observe, look at models, look at abstract concepts and theories, discuss, talk about deeper meanings behind the message that's being portrayed. Other people, they want to get their hands on it. Let me try it. Let me manipulate it. Let me see it, hear it, smell it, taste it. Then I'll trust it and know it's to be true. Okay? Real quickly, what kind of majors on the campus do you think would be attractive to people that prefer that type of learning?
Liberal arts.
Specifically?
Philosophy.
Philosophy. The theosophies and theologies, right? Psychology, sociology, philosophy. Okay? I can't pick up Adam Black's theory on life and hand it to you like a basketball can I? It's just an idea. It's a concept. Here's how I think we should live or whatever, right? But can I pick up a hammer and hand you a hammer and have you smack a nail and you've accomplished a practical task? Absolutely. And that's how some people prefer to learn. What kind of majors do you think would be appropriate for folks on that side?
Computer science.
Absolutely. Mechanics, engineering, accounting. Absolutely, you get the idea, right? Now this is something, okay, this is me. I have a degree in sociology. I have a master's degree in counseling psychology. It's all theory, okay? Luckily, I had good instructors that could give me good practical examples of the concepts that we were discussing. Because until they do that, then I'm like, what do I do with this? How do I use this? Okay? So as you're making your decisions as you go forward, or if you've already made your decision, this is a really important criteria to be thinking about as you progress in your own major and career. Okay? So hopefully you've kind of decided which one applies to you. All right, how do you prefer to make decisions? The first group there, they like to evaluate facts. They use logic, come up with the most reasonable solution that will solve the problem most logically. Okay? They ever heard the saying, sometimes you have to break an egg to make an omelet? Okay? What that means is they're going A plus B equals C, and that's just how it is. That's the fact. Live with it. You may not like it, but that's the truth. Okay? Now, on the other side of the spectrum, these are people that like to recognize how their decision affects other people around them, and they hope that all interested parties are going to agree on that decision being made. They don't want to step on anybody's toes. Can we find harmony in our decision? A plus B equals C, as long as you guys are okay with that? We're good? Okay, if we can all agree, then we'll move on. Okay? So they're certainly much more aware of the human connection as they're making decisions. Okay? It doesn't take a lot of emotion to figure out how to make a bridge stand up. It doesn't take a lot of compassion to program a computer or to calculate a chemical formula. But I do need to make sure that I'm considering people's needs when I'm working in teaching, or social work, or nursing, or positions that allow me to use a little more of a soft touch. Okay? Another big factor in the decision-making process. Now, also, as we're going through these, be thinking as well as far as how these preferences relate to everyday relationships that you're in. Okay? Whether it's a spouse, a professor, a roommate, a parent, a colleague, understanding where your preference is will help you understand better where they're coming from, maybe if you have a disagreement or don't see eye to eye on a concept. Okay? And then the last one here, when it comes to managing your time, do you like to wait and see and decide in the moment, kind of figure it out as I go? You've all seen Pirates of the Caribbean. I think the first one, Captain Jack Sparrow, they're having this big sea battle, and he wraps a rope around his leg and his hand, and he cuts it, and boom, off he goes. And they go, do you think he just makes it up as he goes, or does he plan it? He's probably just a wing it kind of guy. Okay? And then on the other side of that are people who have a plan ahead of time and stick to that plan to avoid possible confusion and getting off a schedule. Can you imagine these two on a vacation? Okay? What are these guys probably going to do on their vacation? Anybody?
Oh, there's the beach. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, it's 11 o'clock and we just woke up. What do you want to do next? Go get breakfast? Go to the beach? Go to Disneyland? Whatever we want to do. Okay? These guys are nervous because they're like, we were supposed to be up at 8 o'clock, getting breakfast at 8:30, on our way to the park by 9 o'clock on Magic Mountain at 9:30, and you throw off my whole schedule. Right? Can you see a potential for conflict? Did you see that potential in the workplace? Did you see a potential for conflict in the classroom? With parents, roommates? Okay? So, again, it's important to recognize your preferences so that you can kind of be a little more patient when somebody's on the opposite preference of yourself. So, these are the 4 areas of what they call type. Part of our personality, part of our genetic makeup that determines who we are. Okay? And this unique combination of type, there's 16 potential combinations. The I is introvert, the E is extrovert, the S is sensing, the N is intuition, the F is feeling, the T is thinking, J is judging, and P is perceiving. And there's a little bit of a description of those on the paper that I've handed out. Okay? So, I'm out of my personal time here, but I want you to look at the back side of that paper that I gave you. There are descriptions, brief descriptions of the 16 different types. One of the things you can do with this is go through and read which one do I think describes me. Okay? And then if you want to come over and see us and take the assessments. Even if you've already decided on your career, it's not a bad idea to confirm that you're on the right path for your personality type. It's not a crystal ball. Okay? It's not going to tell you your future. It's just one tool to help you identify possible career options. Okay? Let's see. Real quick, these combinations affect how you interact with other people, used to help determine satisfaction in the workplace, helps you have better relationships with other people. We all use different types at different times. Nobody is ever 100% one way or the other. What we're trying to get to with this, though, is what's your go-to place? What's your most preferred, your most comfortable place? Okay? So, hopefully that plants a little seed, a little curiosity. If you're interested in learning more about it, come see us. We'll be glad to talk to you about the assessment, okay? Shane is up next, and he's going to talk about the strong interest inventory.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me here. Pizza's awesome, right? Okay. I have been at UVU for 10 years. I work over there with Adam. I am a current academic counseling counselor, and I do teach adjunct here. I do the career and major exploration class. I have my bachelor's degree in family studies from BYU. I have my master's degree in marriage and family therapy from Loma Linda University, where I'm from. So when I came to Utah and everyone said go find First South, I got lost a lot. There's no such thing as First South. It's 100, right? And then I got my postmaster's degree in tolerant infant mental health at Cal State Fullerton. I started working in the mental health field. I was a divorce mediator for a while, moved up to Utah, did some treatment and therapy there, and then 10 years ago I decided I was done with doing therapy, so I came to UVU to do things that are a little more positive in my way of thinking. So anyways, let me grab this real quick. So I would like a volunteer. Yes, we can hand this out, thanks. So, do I have a volunteer? Yeah, come on up.
You get pizza.
So what's this, guys? Sharpie.
Sharpie.
Go ahead and take it off, please. Go ahead and draw a 1-inch line on that board.
You want me with the Sharpie?
Yeah, please.
1 inch?
Yeah, about 1 inch. Be in the middle. Be,
Okay, all right.
yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Have a seat. Thank you.
Yep.
The reality is a lot of us think that life is permanent. We only think of one thing. I can only do this, I can only do that. It's only going to get me here. Math is only going to let me do this. Engineering is only going to let me do this. But the reality is, it's not true. We get stuck. And we realize that there's more to life than what we think is permanent. So the reality is I will get some little spray, but ultimately this comes all the way off. Right? But the reality is permanent marker isn't as permanent as we think. So why I'm doing this to help you understand is to understand that you need to think outside of the box. You can't just wait for things to come happen. And one of those things that we're going to talk about right now is the SII. The SII, the Strong Interest Inventory, is an inventory that's only good for what? 6 months. It's your interest. It is a snapshot of what you like right now. And what's it based on? What are your interests based on, guys?
Things that make you excited.
What?
The things that make you excited.
Yeah, things that make you excited. What else? Pizza lulling you to sleep? Okay, what else? What is it based on, guys? Yeah.
Some sort of personal fulfillment.
Personal fulfillment, okay.
Current needs.
What?
Current needs.
Current needs, okay. Yeah.
I think your friends could have a lot to do with your interests.
Yeah, friends. Yeah, they really push us, right? Come be a business major with me. Let's go to theater together, right? Let's go be accountants. Yeah, what else? You guys are missing some big things. Yeah.
I would say your upbringing, like your family.
Yeah, parents make a huge. I'm only paying for it if you're an accountant, right? Or an attorney. Okay, you go be like an artist. No, we're not paying for that. They don't get paid anything. They really do, but we just don't talk about that. What about movies? What about TV shows? How many people want to be a CSI because CSI is like the best show ever, right? How about ER? When ER came out, everybody wanted to be a nurse in the ER or an ER doc. That's why we have a CSI program here at UVU. We do. Okay, if you didn't know that. What else? What else? Girlfriends, boyfriends. We live in Utah, so husbands and wives, right? Okay. They make us to think about all these different interests, and they influence us. So these are all things, and it's just a snapshot for 6 months or so. Okay. This assessment is also based on your gender. Okay? It's based on your gender. Because women tend to like certain areas more than men do, and men tend to like certain areas more than women do. And there are 6 areas that you guys have on your sheet. Okay? You have social, which means what? It means that you like to work with people or you like to do things that affect people. That's a female-dominated area. So we put females against females, and we put males against males, so they understand where is their interests lie. Realistic is people that like to use their bodies for their job. Men tend to be a little bit more like in this area than women do. Okay? Then we have investigative, people who like to solve problems. We have conventional, people who like to put things in order, like an accountant, like a biologist, like a nurse. Okay? Then we have artistic. And everybody thinks that, oh, it's just people who know how to paint or sing or use clay. But it's also people who like to create, let's say, a better pen. You guys ever heard about the lady that created the new toothpaste top? Her son, of course, we all eat macaroni and cheese with hot dogs, right? Likes ketchup. And said, Mommy, why doesn't our ketchup bottle top be on our toothpaste? So guess what happens? She patents it. She's a multimillionaire for changing the cap on the toothpaste tube. You're going from twist off to just put it on top, right? So you can create and be creative and artistic. Last but not least, enterprising. Enterprising is for people who like to sell. And a lot of you think, oh, I don't like to sell. I don't like to sell pens or cars. What do you think teachers do? What do you think counselors do? What do you think lawyers do? What do you think the politicians are trying to get us to do? Buy their stuff, what they're telling us, right? Those people sell. You say, I don't like to sell. What do you think parents do? What do you think I was doing last night with my 16-year-old? Trying to get him to do something. If you do this, you can have the car tomorrow, right? We sell. So you don't think you like to sell it, you do. Okay? So ultimately, what I'm trying to share with you is that this is an assessment that helps you to understand what you like. You say, Shane, I didn't pick that. I didn't want to be a lawyer. Yeah, you did. In the assessment, you picked the activities that make up what lawyers like to do. And my biggest issue or problem with students that come in, they live in fantasy land. They have an idea, this fantasy idea of what a job is, and then they finally do the work, they get the degree, and then they get to the job like, I don't like this. Because they don't understand what it really does. So my job, and this job of this assessment, is to narrow the gap of Fantasyland so that you guys can understand what it actually does. Do you guys know what lawyers do? They don't just drive fancy cars and get all the girls or the guys. They don't have lots of money. These are people who like to read and write all day long. Okay? That's what they really do. So understanding that helps you, and that's what the strong interest inventory will do. So my last time, I don't know how much longer I have.
Okay.
I want you guys, we're going to do an activity, and you're going to decide what you are right now. This is just a teaser, so you come and take the real one and come talk to us so that we can help you. So you're at a party, and these are the 6 groups that you can be a part of. I want you to read them all, and I want you to pick the one group that you identify with the most. You want to be with that group most importantly. Read everything and then put the letter on the first line, okay? So it's like there's number 1, there's number 2, and there's number 3. So put the letter of the group that you would like to go with first. Okay? Just give you a few seconds to read that and then make a quick decision. When you're done with that, that group leaves. So you're only left with 5 other groups. You have to pick a second group you're going to go with. After they're there for 15 minutes, that group leaves the party, and you're going to pick the last group, so there's only 4 groups left. You will pick the last group that you would hang out with. And that becomes your interest type. So you will look at jobs that fit your interest type. So you could be a SIR, you could be any one of those combinations, SIR, an REA, you can be any of that. So what is your interest type? Now with the assessment, you guys, we give actual data, so it kind of tells you where you can look. You may look in all 6 categories. You may like only 3 categories. So that's why we have you do the assessment, so we can tell you exactly what your interest type looks like. Okay? Does everybody have a chance to do that? Is there, did I not have enough?
No, there is none.
Oh.
Somehow we just missed him.
Okay, sorry. So I think I did 50, so.
Yeah, no, we're good.
And guys, just so you know, we love what we do at our office. So please come bug us. When we're not busy, we're doing other things, but we would much rather talk to you and help you with this stuff. So please, please, please come and see us, okay, to do this. All right? Thanks, guys.
What's the name of this assessment? This one?
The SII, Strong Interest Inventory. Yeah.
Great, so I'm number 3. My name is Jan Klingman. I'm the Director of Academic Standards here at UVU. I also am over in the Academic Counseling Center where Adam's area is. My job and my employee's job is to work with students who are struggling academically, get them back on track so they're able to move forward towards their degree, towards their career. And you probably already know this, but people struggle for many, many reasons. And one of the reasons oftentimes is they're undecided, or they're not sure they've picked the right career, so they end up failing some classes. The interest just isn't there, and so they don't do well. So they end up on some level of probation, so they end up in our offices. So we help them kind of unravel all of that information and again, help them to choose based on accurate information rather than just picking something out of a hat. I do want to take a minute and just tell you about my personal journey because it's a little bit different than the typical, and I think it'll help you to recognize that there are lots of pathways in life. So when I was graduating high school, there wasn't much of career counseling available at that time, and so I talked to my dad about what I should do for a living. And I knew there was 2 things that I was interested in. I was very good in art, and I was also good in helping people kind of discover who they are and talk them through their problems. So I went to my dad and said, I think I want to study social work when I go to college. And he looked at me and he said, you don't want to be a social worker. And I said, why? And he said, because you have to sit around and listen to people's problems all day. So being young and naive, I thought, oh, he's probably right. And he was right. I love art. I went through my first degree in design through BYU in interior design. My dad was an architect, so of course I was raised with all of that, going to galleries, you know, doing the artsy, taking all the art classes in high school, which I absolutely loved, but also through my relationships and friends, I knew that I was good at helping people. And so I took his word and thought it would be the best career, which I did for about probably 5 or 6 years after I graduated. And then I remembered I really like to work with people. So I actually started moving back into a master's program at 40. But what happened to get me there is I realized I wanted to pull back out of the art field and then move over to counseling. So how am I going to do this? I started teaching art at a school. Then from there, I started interning as a counselor at the high school level. From there, I went through my master's program in educational counseling. And from there, moved on to high school counseling and then on over here to UVU. So I actually have 2 very divergent paths, but I will argue that that's actually quite common. In my particular area in the counseling, there's probably 3 or 4 people on campus that I know have interior design degrees that ended up in some form of counseling. So it's kind of an interesting, you would think they would be really opposite, but they're really not. So my journey is a little bit different, and I wanted to give you that just because there's always those opportunities to shift and go different directions. And sometimes it's for money, sometimes it's because the time isn't working, so it can be lots of different things. So back to where we are today. We wanted to share with you some information about the assessments that we offer at UVU. The one that I'm going to talk about specifically is called, and let me grab the books. It's called Strengths Finder or Strengths Quest. The assessment is the Strengths Assessment. Like Adam talked about, this assessment has been fully vetted, just like the Myers and the Strong. It is a very valuable assessment that we use regularly with students. It's not as popular as the Myers or Strong, but it adds a third component that I think is super important when we come to that whole idea of learning about who we are. So the Myers-Briggs is basically psychology-based, and Adam talked about this. It's why we do the things that we do, which is very good information. It helps us to understand, again, who we are at the core and how we can contribute to society. The strong interest inventory is based on what you're interested in. So it's basically, okay, I really like to bake bread, so maybe I should go into culinary arts. The third one is what we call Strengths Finder or Strengths Quest, and it is behavior-based, and so it's what we call much more actionable, and it's how we engage. So what I would recommend is that you do all three if you can, because knowing our talents is the key to finding success in your career and in your major. It's super important to answer those big questions as who I am or who am I? And this is what Adam was talking about, the Socrates quote. How do I best contribute? How do I make the world a better place? Do you know your own personal greatest potential? Again, the key to success, the key to happiness, the key to contributing to the world is that self-knowledge and truly understanding who you are and why you do the things that you do. And I love this quote. It's so important to grow in your own potential. You know, we have spent our life living with families that maybe have told us we should do this or we should do that. And then we get to college and we realize that might not be the best choice. You start to discover that you have your own personal talents and strengths, your own personal potential. And these three assessments will help you to really verbalize, see on, black and white ink, the areas in which you can contribute, the areas in which you will do well. This is a quote by Albert Einstein. Everybody is a genius, and I truly believe this, that we each have that strength that we need to bring to the table to make the team one. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. So the idea behind this is if you've been told your entire life that you're going to be an accountant, and you really don't have the skills, the interest, the talent to do any of that, it's going to feel really, really uncomfortable. So we want you to know what your own potential is so that you can then move on to a career that uses your talents. So you know each one of you have a group of talents within you. We know that you have siblings that probably are completely different from you. And your greatest talents hold the key to your higher levels of achievement, success, and to that personal excellence that you're really searching for. So you want to become aware of those talents. And how do you do that? Honestly, the assessments are a really good place to start because I think we all have general ideas where our talents lie, but when you see it written on paper, it comes back black and white based on questions that you've been asked by these surveys. It's really validating. And so it helps us to learn our strengths, and then when we start applying those strengths, we can improve our levels of achievement. And that's what the goal is to get the best you out there operating every day. And each of your talents can be applied in many different areas. And today specifically we're talking about careers, about how we want you to be able to use those talents that come naturally in those career fields that you've chosen. So we need to start developing, and when you're in college, this is the perfect place for self-discovery. This is the time in which you have to do this. You can do it once you get out in the workforce, but it's much better if you can take the time and energy to really investigate who you are at the core and then move out into the work world with a good sense of knowledge of where you're at. And I wanted just to give you a little, brief look at this assessment. So with the strengths, it gives you, like Adam's had kind of like what they call the top four. I happen to be an ENFP. But on mine, this is, on down a little bit, thank you. So this is what the terminology that the strengths use. So my top 5, and this is what it will give you, is your top 5 out of 34 choices. I'm futuristic, connectedness, strategic, ideation, and maximizer. And they have their own definition for each of these terms. But this report helps to, again, show you what your natural talents and strengths are in writing so that you can say, oh yeah, that's me. Oh, I get it. That, and it's almost like, as I said, it's not a crystal ball, but it's really close. Can you page down a little bit? So the first section, it goes through and describes, a little bit more, thank you, you're helping so much, your personalized strengths. So each of these themes, so it would start with my futuristic and tell me, instinctively, you generate ideas quickly. You draw clever linkages between facts, events, and people's problems or solutions. You present others with numerous options at a pace that some may find dizzying. Your innovative thinking tends to foster, can you see how valuable this could be when picking a job? It's really just telling you, and of course, you go through and verify, you go and underline things, yeah, that's totally me, that's totally me. Or it's not me. So it's such a personalized assessment. Okay, so it has a whole section where it describes each of your top 5, and then the actionable part, which is the most important part, so scoot on way past the top 5. It gives you step-by-step things that you can use to, no, keep going, thank you. So application, ideas for action. So remember we said this is a very actionable report. So for my futuristic, I should choose roles in which you can contribute your ideas about the future. So hopefully that's what I get to do in my job each day. And actually I had a nice conversation this morning involving our future. For example, you might excel in entrepreneurial or startup situations. Again, step by step. Seek audience who appreciate your ideas for the future. So very actionable to get you to that, what do my strengths and talents offer, and how can I bring it to the table for somebody who potentially could be your employer. And why would an employer care? No, I'm good. So if you can just minimize that. So that gives you an idea. So it gives you ideas for action for each of your top 5 that is given. So why do we care? Why strengths in careers? Well, we call it an engagement strategy because employers care if you're engaged. Why? Because if you're engaged, you're going to be excited about work. You're going to be an owner of that job. You're going to get things done. You'll have 30% less absenteeism, 49% less turnover, better producer, better budget performance. So your employer cares that you know who you are and what you can contribute to, and you're going to care too because it's going to help you to be engaged in your work. It's going to give you the opportunity to be excited about going to work every single day because you're using your natural talents and strengths, because you're clear about what they are. And how do you get clear about what they are? Honestly, you know a lot about yourself. You just have to answer a series of questions through the Myers, the Strong, and the Strengths. They'll give you reports that put it all into words. And with the help of a career counselor, which Adam's area can do, they can interpret those reports and help you on that career path, help you on that degree path, so that you're not just, like I said, picking something out of a hat, ending up in accounting when you absolutely hate accounting. And so this is what happens. You get disengaged at your work, and this is what your work looks like, right? You don't want to take that branch away because I don't really care. I'm here from 9 to 5. I wish I wasn't here. So my challenge is to you is to take this time when you're in college to really know who you are. Do the self-discovery. Find the job that is perfect for you. Choose the job you love, and you'll never have to work a day in your life. And I can actually testify to that because I really got, I don't know if I got lucky or what, but I've been able to work through different positions and be able to come to a job that I feel like every day I'm using my natural talents and strengths. And I think Adam and Shane feel the same way about their position too. We've had the opportunity to have our minds open with these types of assessments, so I think we have a little advantage over a lot of people who don't take them, but we would highly recommend you go on that journey to try and self-discover, find out where your natural talents and strengths are, and then go confidently in the direction of your dreams and live the life you have imagined. And so that's our presentation, and we are going to now open it up for questions.
much.
You're welcome.
If you guys would, I'll have you slide your chairs over so we can
Yes.
capture you on camera and be sure that students who weren't able to attend today or those of us here that want to watch again, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. Who has the first question?
I'm not I'm not new to school. I've been in for a while, and I'm looking at the next level of classes going, I'm not really sure I want to go there. I've got my associate, so I don't know what I want to do with my bachelor's. I've got ideas what I want to do with jobs, but every time I get a job, it's not in what I want to do, but I'm happier. So with that, what information would you give me for that?
Correct it now rather than later. I think the more information you can gather now, the clearer you're going to be on how to move forward. And I would recommend all three of them, particularly the Myers, because it will give you job tasks that your personality would be good at. So it even starts really broad so that maybe you're not even sure what field, but if you decide to go in a particular field, you can look for that job that has these specific job tasks in that field. So yeah, can it be helpful? Absolutely.
I would also add to that even though right now you're doing jobs, putting food on the table with those jobs, that's still relevant experience that's helping you determine, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? Even when you graduate and you go into a career path and you feel like, oh, I've made it, you're not done learning. There's still things, I've been here 14 years and there's still things that I do every day that I go, well, that's not as fun. But then there's other things where I go, yeah, I love that. And so even though I've been doing this for so long, I'm still learning. So even once you've found that career, you don't ever leave that self-discovery cycle. But like Jan said, the best thing that you can do is just try things. There's a term called career diffusion where people get kind of overwhelmed by the choices that are out there. And the best way to overcome that is just try stuff, do stuff, because it's a process of elimination. And like you said, you're working jobs. Maybe those are not the jobs that are going to fulfill you as your career for the rest of your life. But as you're doing those, learn from every job that you're in, what parts do I enjoy? What parts could I pick up and maybe see myself doing more of? And then also looking at what do I not want to do for sure.
It's called job crafting. Yeah, so you kind of, as you keep narrowing as you move through your field. So you can start with a job in an area that you thought you were going to be super good at and all of a sudden you don't like it. Well, it doesn't mean you necessarily need to jump ship out of that career, but you might need to shift departments or shift your work tasks. So this is all just information gathering, and our assessments is just going to help with that process and give you more information so you can start sculpting it down and craft your perfect position.
And I have seen people in your shoes all the time. They come in at the last semester of their associate degree and they go, I don't know what's next. And you do run into a dilemma where you've sort of done all your general eds and you've done some electives and stuff, and now you got to figure out what you're going to go into next. What I tell those students is, it doesn't matter, declare something, because you'll know pretty quick whether or not you like that major as soon as you start taking classes in that. And unfortunately, students that are in that situation, they do oftentimes end up with a few more classes than maybe what they want. But the way I look at it is, you're at this point of your life, getting ready for this point of your life. And so if it means if you take that and just go like that a little bit, you still got 40 years ahead of you that you got to work. You might as well make sure it's going to be what you enjoy and what you love, even if it means exploring a little bit longer than what you hope to do.
Yeah, and that's what these assessments do. They just explore for you and put it into writing so that you can actually have something visual to go back to and say, yes, oh, I see, now I'll do this, okay, so it's just really good information. I would say even for those who have decided on a career, that's fine too, but this will give you additional information on how to, again, move forward in your career, make those slight shifts if you're unhappy with one job. It could be the management. You don't work as well with a micromanager. You need somebody who needs. So all of these things, it's just self-awareness, honestly.
Research.
Thank you. Unless we have a question over here?
How long do the My question is, when you take an assessment and you learn about yourself back in elementary, and then you take it again in high school, and then you get to college like this guy right here, how often does it change? Because I've noticed there have been some changes.
So on the Myers-Briggs, you've all heard the discussion of personality where it's either nature versus nurture, right? The nature argument says we're hardwired to be a certain way because of this genetic cocktail that determines who we are, okay? The nature argument says we become who we are based off the experiences that we have as we go through life, and that kind of shapes us and molds us. So the Myers-Briggs prescribes to the nature argument. The theory of this assessment is that if you took it when you were 15 years old and then you took it again when you're 80 years old, as long as you answer accurately, the results will be the same. That personality is static. Now on the strong interest inventory, as Shane mentioned, he says it's good for 6 months. And that's essentially true, especially as you're going through experiences like college where you're taking new classes every semester, changing jobs every once in a while. The research on the strong says that we start to have a solid understanding of our interests by about 8th grade. Or, excuse me, we start to recognize our interests, and they tend to be solidified by the time we're about 25 years old. Okay? Think back to your junior high experience. That's when they start offering woodshop and weightlifting and home ec and art and all those classes where you can start to do exploring and research and find out what you really enjoy and what you're good at. And then, like I said, the theory is that by about 25, we have a pretty solid understanding of who we are and what our interests are. So for those of you in this room that are still between 18, 19, 20, 22 years old, your interest could change. So if you took the assessments like this 3-4 years ago and take it again, the responses could be very different based off of some of the experiences they have. Experiences certainly do shape our interests. Where with the Myers-Briggs, our personality is static, doesn't change. We can learn how to adapt to different circumstances because we have to. I'm a natural introvert. The way I recharge my batteries, after this I'm going to go back to my office for a minute, maybe have a few minutes to where I can go, okay, now I'm ready for some students, right? Okay, I naturally recharge my batteries by having a little time alone, by having that quiet time. When I first started here and was asked to as the advisor, I was asked to teach a class, a student success class, and my eyes got this big. Teach what? What are you talking about? That wasn't in the job description. But I've learned how to become very comfortable doing that. I love this stuff. As long as I know what I'm talking about, I love presenting. Okay? Some of the best public speakers in the world are introverts. The thing is that they just have to have some time to decompress when they're done. They have to not be on. They have to have time to be off for a minute. And so you might notice in your own lives, maybe there's circumstances where you've had to adapt opposite of what your preference is, but it doesn't mean your preference has changed. It just means you've learned how to use the other one, and you still tend to go to your natural personality preference. Does that help?
And the Strengths Finder is really along the nature as well. They believe that you're born with some natural talents and strengths, but it takes time to uncover them. So you have experiences through life that will help you to see where your strengths are. And then when you take this assessment when you're in your 20s, it's easier to say, okay, yeah, I see where I've used this and built this through my life. So it's based on nature as well.
And just understand, too, that as you grow and mature, your understanding of the world will change, which will then change your understanding of yourself, your interests. And so just so you know, when you're in 6th grade versus 19, 20, and your sophomore year of college, you're going to understand things a lot different. And so things may change for you as well in the interest for sure. Maybe even in the Myers-Briggs, depending on how much, when you took it, because if you take it too young, it's not
really
very
valid.
reliable. So
You may not have enough self-knowledge
Yeah.
to answer accurately.
Right.
I'm 42 years old, and there's still some things that I'm not clear on. Imagine being, in 7th, 8th grade and trying to take that.
But you can see glimpses of it. Even if any of you have children, you can see glimpses when they're even young, whether there's an introvert or an extrovert that you're raising. So they're starting to feel the way, and you're starting to help them develop. But it really isn't until they reach around those college years that we can solidify and say, you know, based on these experiences you've had up to this point, now you can kind of quantify where your natural talents and strengths are, where your personality is, and then on interests, of course, those can change a little, but they're not as dramatic as you might think. Like, you know, most of us generally through our life had interests that don't change a ton. And a lot of it's based on experience too, like Shane was saying. If you have one experience, you might be more interested, but if you've never tried something else, you have no idea whether you're interested in it or not. So we need to experience life. Try this, try that. And sometimes just that trying them will help us to say, oh, this is really not for me, you know. So take every opportunity to try, and if it means a couple of extra classes, you're much better off. That, I mean, I don't ever think of them as wasted classes because it is a life learning experience, and that is how you move forward. And so there's never a lose situation. You might be paying a little extra tuition, and I know that kind of sucks sometimes, and you want to get it pinpointed as quickly as you can. But the ideal situation, and that's why in those first 2 years, they allow you some flexibility on your electives because they want you to try and figure this out, whether you're going to like or not like. You might come in really committed to nursing and then find out it is absolutely not for you.
And that's funny because we do have a lot of students that come in and say, I'm going to be a nurse. And we go, great. Take anatomy, take physiology, take chemistry, and they go, but I hate science. Well,
So that
if
does-
you get over that whole science thing, you might make a great nurse. But
Yeah.
you may want to think about that. But that happens all the time.
Yeah.
You have a question, Mary?
Yeah, so I don't know all the jobs out there and the, you know, just different paths to pursue. So as a follow-up to all these personal assessments and
Yes.
things, is there
Yes,
an
let's-
online resource?
Oh, there's tons.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
my favorite one. There's a website, if you just Google ONET. So O space net, okay? And when the website opens up, it looks like one tongue line, but it's ONET online. So, yeah, that's what it looks like.
I know.
But it's ONET, and it's a fantastic website because you can go in and you can put in something as vague as sociology, which was my major. And I've got a funny story about that, I'll tell you. But you put in sociology, and basically what that does is it'll bring up every profession that's related to sociology, the types of fields that people go into. Or you can put in something as specific as emergency room doctor, and that'll bring up that title and everything related to that as well.
Like how much money you can make, the
Yeah.
job tasks that you'll be required to
Well,
do,
how much
the type of
training.
training you need. I mean, we have
Yeah.
so many resources if students would just come and ask. We could really, honestly, this isn't a guessing game. We can do a lot of research with you and help you with that self-knowledge. So it's not going to be, like I said, pulling something out of the hat.
Another
You're gonna be
website that's
sure.
really good is called the Occupational Outlook Handbook. If you just Google OOH, looks like you're Googling OO, but it's OOH, that'll bring up another website that's very similar to that. And you can use these, you can say, show me professions that make this much money. And it'll bring up the professions that fit in that category. Because we go into the classrooms on the campus here and we ask students, what's your first priority? What's the number one thing that you want to use when you're choosing a career? And more often than not, it's money. I want to make a lot of money. And then I ask the question, well, what's a lot of money? And that varies so much in between individuals. Some people go, I want to make $35,000 a year. Other people go, I want to make $500,000 a year. There's a lot of variation. But those websites are really cool because you can search careers based off of whatever criteria are most important to you.
And Adam brought up a really good point. A lot of this also, we didn't even talk about this, but values. What do you value in life? And so if it's money, then you may help to narrow your pathway a little bit more. And we haven't even gone into that. So that's a whole nother
Come and visit
presentation.
with them. It sounds like we have lots and lots and lots of great
Yeah.
information. I hate to say it, but we are
Yep.
out of time.